On this episode of Left Off the Map, we're travelling to the west coast of Tasmania. Now, the west coast is unbelievably rugged. It's almost like the land time forgot. I'm taking a very, very close friend of mine, Henry Terry. Now, Henry Terry is a truffle farmer from Deloraine, about half an hour away from where I live. We're going to check out the west coast wonderful wilderness, and Henry's going to show me how to cook with truffle. So the best way to prepare truffles, I think, is in pastas and pair it with mushrooms. So we're going to do a mushroom pasta. We've got a couple of different mushrooms here. We've got some button mushrooms and some field mushrooms or Swiss browns. I'm going to chop these up roughly, pop them into a pan. I'm going to serve this with penne, which is probably, out of all the short pastas, penne is probably my favourite short pasta. I love the shape that you can stick the fork into it, and the shape means that the sauce is going to get inside the pasta. And it's got the little ribs on the outside, which means that the sauce will stick to the outside of the pasta. So it's fantastic for something like this. I think penne is probably the most transferable of all short pastas, although cassarecci is really good as well. But yeah, still, penne is my favourite. Okay, mushrooms roughly chopped. Pop them into my pan. That's almost all of my field mushrooms. Put on the heat. Finish off with my buttons. My buttons I'll probably just chop in half. I want this to be reasonably chunky. Last field mushroom. So I'm going to cook these off for quite a large amount of time, or a long time. The thing with a mushroom is it's like a sponge. It soaks up lots and lots and lots of water. So to get good mushroom flavour out of it, I've got to extract all of that water out. So I'm just left with the mushroom flavour. And a good way of doing that is with salt. Where salt goes, water follows. So if I put salt on the outside of these mushrooms, it means the water's going to run out of the mushroom, and then we can cook it off. So we're going to give that about 10 minutes of cooking time, and then we'll come back and check on it. Those mushrooms you see they've halved in volume. We've got some good colour on them. We've forced out all of that excess water. So there, I'm really happy with them. I'll put my pasta in now. So I put my penne in, and to follow the penne, a really, really big amount of salt. So a big pinch of salt. The water should taste of the ocean whenever you're making pasta, because pasta is a dehydrated product. As it rehydrates, it takes in water. If it's taking in salted water, you're going to end up with seasoned pasta. That way, the pasta's awesome to eat just on its own. My kids eat pasta. If it's well-cooked pasta, it's seasoned pasta, they'll eat it on its own as a snack. Send it to school, a little bit of oil in a Ziploc bag, and they love it. Okay, pasta's cooking. That's got about 8 minutes. My mushrooms are done. Another pinch of my truffle salt to just ensure that truffle flavour. Some garlic, 1 clove of garlic, thinly sliced. Garlic into our pan with our mushrooms. Some onion jam, about a tablespoon of onion jam. You can make your own onion jam, or you can just buy some onion jam. Some thyme, some young thyme. Just put the knife through that roughly. Normally, onion and garlic is something that starts a dish, so it's a base of a dish. Instead of putting the onion and garlic in at the beginning, because I've got that caramelised onion, I've got all that flavour that I want, the sweetness from the onion. So that looks really good. A little bit of chicken stock, just to deglaze our pan. only about 104, 120, 25 mils. Reduce that by half. You can always tell when you're cooking a dish whether it's going to be good about 5 minutes in. This is going to be a good one. The smell that you're getting already is brilliant. So I've got some mascarpone here, which is the last thing that's going to go in. Stir that in. This is just to help carry that flavour of the truffle and all the other flavours that we've got in there as well. Stir that in. All right, I just want to taste this sauce, make sure it's got enough salt, make sure I've got all the flavours that I want. The only thing that I could think it might need is a little bit of acid, so a little bit of lemon juice. No, doesn't need it. All right, take that off the heat, bring my pasta over. And then my pasta's going to go straight into my sauce. I'm going to finish with some more of our truffle salt. I'm going to finish with some Parmesan cheese. All right, so my pasta can come straight from the pot. Don't have to worry about draining it. Taking some of that pasta water. Don't be afraid to take that pasta water. Okay. Mix all this together. Now the thickening agent, that starch that's on the outside of the pasta, it needs heat to activate that thickening component. I'm going to take that off the heat, put this back on the heat. Once that comes to the boil, it'll be ready to serve. All right, one more pinch of salt. Serving plate. You see how that's thickened up? Turn that off now. A little bit of Parmesan to finish. There we go. The way I find best to make truffle go a long way. Now, we're going to go and hang out with Henry on the West Coast. He's going to show you how he uses truffle. He has plenty of it, so he can be a little bit more luxurious with his truffle use. And then when we come back, I'll show you another fantastic truffle pasta, but with seafood instead. The thing that people would be interested in is farming a good quality truffle in Tasmania.
Well, I mean, I grew up on a truffle farm, so my parents were the first ones in Australia to grow the French black truffle. So the story goes, I was only, very young at the time, but I believe my dad was on a fishing trip, and they were basically saying, if you flip the world upside down, we're on a similar latitude to France, where they grow. And so I think from there they said, why not? Let's give it a crack. And off they went. So I'm not sure, such a big risk back in the day. And the French said it couldn't be done anywhere else. And, where we are now, it's quite incredible to think that's how it all started.
What have been the biggest learnings that have happened on the truffle industry in Tasmania over the last period of time?
I mean, how long have you got? Plenty of lessons. I mean, it's a brand new industry, really. So, we grew our first truffle in 1999. So, we've been producing truffles for about 20 years. And, like you said, we have this incredible environment, and it's a fantastic farming area with a lot of other amazing producers. And, it's sort of gone from strength to strength, I suppose, in the previous decade or so.
So I couldn't come away on a trip to the West Coast with a truffle farmer and not find out a little bit how to cook with truffles. And what does a truffle go for, price-wise?
Yeah, well, it depends on the variety, Ben. So we've got
On our farm, we grow a couple of different types of truffles. We have a summer variety and a winter variety.
I didn't even know you could get a summer variety truffle.
Yeah, so I guess our farm's one of the only ones in Australia doing it. So they have some subtle differences. They kind of look the same, black on the outside, veiny in the middle. Still have a beautiful sort of aroma, but they're a little bit more subtle, a little more probably woody, earthy than the winter truffle that's got that real sweetness and fruitiness about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you going to cook, and while you cook it, I want to ask you a few more questions about it, but what are your best tips for cooking with truffle?
Well, today we're going to go with a Scotch fillet steak. Look, for me with truffles, always keep it really, really simple. I find the best dishes I've cooked with truffles, 3, maybe 4 ingredients. I think when you've got an ingredient like that that's worth quite a lot of money, you want to let it shine. So all the best dishes I've cooked are nice and simple, and a steak's great because if you're using fatty foods, it carries the flavour really well, as you know. So a nice Scotch fillet steak with plenty of marbling, it's a beautiful combination.
So most people, when they've heard of truffle in a dish, they would have heard it in a pasta dish or with mushrooms or with eggs, and that's because of that creaminess or that fattiness is going to carry that flavour a little bit further. Yeah,
absolutely. I think dairy's a big one. You know, cheeses, a nice truffle brie, or scrambled eggs with a heap of butter or double cream in it. You just can't beat it, and it's that fat that carries the flavour.
They're looking pretty good for a little barbecue that we've moved inside.
Yes. Well, it's working hard, but I think we've got there.
Yeah, we have. We eventually got there. All right, so resting meat, is that something that you do?
Absolutely, yes. You don't want juice spilling out all over your plate. You want to keep all that flavour in there. So I'd rest these for about 5 minutes and whack some truffle on top and we're ready to go.
Cool. All right, get them off then. This is, I reckon, the first time I've ever cooked steaks on a barbecue and not been as excited about the actual steaks. It's about what's going with them. Normally when you're cooking meat on a barbecue, it's I really want the meat. This time it's I actually really want what's going with the meat.
Yeah, for sure.
What is it about Tassie that we create such fantastic truffles? What is it about the environment?
I think, with a lot of Tassie produce, it's the same story. We live in this absolutely pristine environment. Our soil, air quality, it's the best in the world. So, they're 2 massive factors going for us straight away. Our climate is also fantastic. We've got these sort of mild summers and reasonably mild winters as well. So you have these slow-grown truffles that are just dense and have this flavour all of their own.
So is it cold weather that truffle likes, or is it variations in weather that it doesn't like?
Well, look, we could get into the science of this quite heavily here, but basically, a nice warm summer is really good to initiate the fruit. So for volume, that's really handy, but the cold winter actually sort of triggers them into maturing, and that's where I guess the magic happens and they start to smell and all that flavour's released.
You're going to shave this on, right?
Absolutely.
So you're hitting, the truffle's hitting something warm, and will that create more of that smell that you want in a truffle?
Yeah.
How would you describe it to someone who hasn't eaten it?
That is the hardest question. I get that every day and I don't know how to describe it. Usually I'm just like, hey, have a smell. But it's completely unique, and I think everyone has their own sort of take on what it smells like. So it's a very hard one for me to describe, so I don't even try. It's something you've just got to do. It's completely unique though, and that's what makes it kind of special, I think.
I think that's why it's so loved, because it is unique. It's not, there isn't something that you can substitute for it. If you want truffle, you've got to have truffle.
It's really important that you don't cook truffles. And what people, the misconception with them is to get fancy, and you'd know this, eating all over the world, but that keeping it simple thing is so important, and just not cooking the truffle and simply putting it on some food that has a little bit of heat in it will maximise that flavour without cooking it out.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, let's get into it.
And that's definitely one way of using truffle if you've got a lot of it. You can sort of cake it over the top of a steak and it's absolutely beautiful. It certainly adds to the umami flavour of the steak. I'm going to show you a way, similar to before, how we can make sure we get the most out of a small amount of truffle. So we're going to use truffle salt again, but truffle actually goes quite well with certain seafoods, especially smoked salmon. So we're going to do a smoked salmon pasta. So first thing I probably want to do is get some salt in my boiling water. So make sure that's nicely seasoned. And then I'm going to saute off a little bit of garlic. Actually, that's a lie. I'm going to saute off a lot of garlic because I love garlic, especially with smoked salmon. And some green Sicilian olives. I'm just going to slice this garlic thinly. I'm going to cook it really gently, so on a low temperature with a little bit of oil so we don't get too much colour. And it's just going to soften the flavour of the garlic. Garlic and truffle is a really good combination. My olives, chop them in half. Certainly, like I said before, you don't want too much heat in this dish at all. We don't want to colour our garlic too much. We don't want to burn our olives. The seafood's already cooked, so we're just trying to heat everything through. A good amount of oil. And then my garlic and my olives can go in. And we're just heating that through and taking the sort of the astringency out of the garlic. So cooking that out a little bit. Good pinch of salt in with that. My water's about a minute away from boiling. As soon as that water boils, I can put my pasta in. So I'm using spaghetti. I'm going to drag the pasta from the water into the pan and finish cooking it in the pan. The other ingredients, lots of fresh herbs, some spring onions, a little bit of cream, a little bit of wine, and then the smoked salmon itself, and that's how the dish is all going to come together. The truffle, like I said, is going to come from the salt, and the smokiness of the salmon and the truffle is a really good combination. Most people probably in the past have freaked out about having truffle with seafood, but it's something that we do more and more and more. My pasta is 30 seconds away from being cooked. My sauce is done. I'm really happy with that. It's nice and vibrant. The smell is amazing. It's going to be probably enough there for 4 entrees or 2 mains, I would think. So pasta can go straight from the pot into the pan. Don't mind if I take some of that pasta water with it. That'll help thicken and emulsify my sauce. Done. All right, stir this pasta in. It's one of those dishes that you would get at a little brasserie or bistro if you went out and rave about it, and you've now seen how easy it is to make it at home. Now I've got a bowl out to plate this up in, but I'm not even going to bother. Spaghetti at times can be quite messy to try and plate up, so I'm going to leave it in that pan. I would give 4 friends or 2 friends if you're feeling hungry, or 1 friend if you're feeling really hungry, a fork each, and we'll just dig in together. Probably 10 minutes from start to finish for a pasta that you would have at a bistro and rave about. And you've got a little bit of wine left to go with it. Not a bad use of truffles, I think.